All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're embarking on something I like to call the cosmic zoom: time, emergence, and the passion fruit paradox. Honestly, prepare yourself for a bit of existential vertigo, because we're going to explore a philosophical dialogue that completely challenges how we perceive reality, time, and our exact place in the universe. We're going to zoom all the way out to the birth of galaxies, and then zoom right back down to something as simple and everyday as enjoying a warm cup of tea. It's all about shifting our perspective from the noisy day-to-day stuff to the grand, sweeping mechanics of the cosmos.
So right off the bat, I want you to hold on to this thought experiment. What actually happens if we stop treating time like a rigid ticking clock and instead treat it like a variable that we can scale up and down whenever we want? Most of us are busy wondering what humanity is going to look like in, say, 10 or maybe 100 years. But what happens to reality when we pull the lens back so far that we're looking at millions or even billions of years, all in a single glance?
Think about this quote for a second. The universe basically developed a method to study itself. I mean, there's just an absurd beauty in a universe made of exploded stars suddenly turning around and looking back at its own creation. Think about it. A supernova explodes. It creates iron. That iron literally becomes your blood. That blood fuels your brain. And then that brain writes poetry and wonders where it came from. We are, quite literally, the cosmos sitting on a damp rock having a full-blown existential crisis.
Let's play with that fluid timeline. If we compress 10 years into one, human history moves fast, right? But stretch that out. Zoom out to 1,000,000 years. At that scale, entire civilizations are just flickering, like sparks flying off a campfire. Now expand it to 1,000,000,000 years. Individual events completely vanish. History doesn't even look like history anymore. Stars igniting, galaxies colliding, species evolving. It all just looks like one grand sweeping weather system.
And this brings us to what we call the paradox of resolution. Basically, completely different realities exist at the exact same time, entirely depending on your zoom level. It's like looking at a cloud. From our macro scale, human perspective, a cloud is a single fluffy object drifting by. But zoom way into the microscale, that cloud doesn't actually exist. It's just billions of independent water droplets crashing into each other. The cloud is an illusion created purely by our human scale of perception. When we zoom out to 1,000,000,000 years, our localized idea of self totally blurs into the background radiation. We try so hard to preserve our specific arrangement of bricks, completely ignoring the fact that our atoms, they already solved immortality. We spend ridiculous amounts of energy trying to become immortal, totally forgetting that the literal clay we're made of was forged in stars billions of years ago. The core components are already eternal. It's just this temporary, fleeting pattern we call us that we're so frantically trying to hold on to.
Moving into section 1, the agility to zoom, let's look at why true transcendence isn't just about zooming out forever until you disappear. Because here's the thing, if you stay permanently zoomed out at that galactic level where 1,000,000,000 years is just weather, you definitely achieve a kind of profound cosmic peace. But you lose absolutely all practical utility. You'd be paralyzed by how insignificant a Tuesday afternoon is. To be truly transcendent, you have to be agile. You need the ability to bounce fluidly between the infinite and the everyday. You have to contemplate the birth of the universe, and in the very next breath, focus on fixing a leaky water pipe in your house. To really grasp this agility, let's look at a number: 20. 20 watts. That is the baseline power consumption of the human brain. Think about that. It's about the same amount of power as that dim little light bulb inside your refrigerator. It is a staggeringly tiny energy budget. But what's absolutely wild is what this tiny 20-watt biological engine can actually pull off. It can map out the structural mechanics of reality itself. A machine running on less juice than a standard household appliance is executing high-dimensional mapping. It takes history, culture, and quantum physics and mashes them together so we can comfortably imagine sitting near the event horizon of a black hole, sipping passion fruit tea. The efficiency of that is just absurd.
All right, that brings us to part 2, when quantity becomes quality. Let's explore how hitting massive scales completely alters the rules of the game. So in the physical world, complexity is just the noise, right? But emergence is the signal. It's that magic threshold where suddenly something entirely new pops up out of the components. We call this a phase transition. Think about heating up a block of ice. Nothing really seems to change until it hits exactly 32 degrees, and then bam, the rigid structure instantly collapses into fluid water. The rules change.
Take a single water molecule. Honestly, on its own, it's pretty boring. It's just an electric dipole forming hydrogen bonds. but hit that magic threshold of quantity, say 10 to the power of 25 molecules swirling in a warm ocean, and suddenly, boom, you have the emergent, coastline-destroying physics of a hurricane. The hurricane wasn't hiding inside one single drop of water. It's a completely new phenomenon that was born purely out of scale.
And we see this exact same thing happening right inside our own heads. You've got 86 billion individual neurons acting as a cognitive cradle, creating the ultimate phase transition, human consciousness. A single neuron is cool, sure, but consciousness is this massive phenomenon that appears above them. The pattern that emerges matters infinitely more than the wet physical hardware keeping it running.
Now let's apply this perfectly to our modern technological era. When we look at artificial intelligence, we really shouldn't just be seeing huge data centers, silicon, and a bunch of engineering projects. What we're actually watching is the next major phase transition in civilization's communication layer. It is not just a bigger calculator, folks. It is the emergence of a planetary nervous system designed to dramatically reduce the friction of thought between human minds. Which naturally leads us to Section 3, Patterns Outliving Their Containers. Let's see how the universe is strangely obsessed with saving concepts over physical stuff. There's this incredibly powerful anecdote. The man who discovered fire enjoyed his steak, but was then burned by his village. It perfectly captures the sheer friction of human existence when a massive macro-scale discovery slams headfirst into a micro-scale reality. The inventor taps into a fundamental law of thermodynamics, but his village is just too terrified to bridge the gap between their immediate fear and long-term progress, so they destroy the creator. But notice what happens here. The fragile physical container, the inventor, is destroyed. But the eternal pattern, the fire itself, survives, becomes an engine, and completely rewrites the future. The village burns the guy, but the fire remains. An empire collapses, but its roads remain. We humans spend almost all our energy trying to protect our fragile containers, our bodies, our specific institutions, but reality is only obsessed with making sure the patterns survive.
The big takeaway here is that nature absolutely refuses to do dead ends. It uses these continuous loops. Atoms create life, life creates minds, and minds build models that rewrite reality. We always like to think of progress as a ladder, like there's an endpoint or a roof we're eventually going to step out onto, but it's not. It's a spiral. It's a feedback loop that climbs higher with every single rotation. A self-referential machine that just gets better and better at modeling itself. Okay, let's bring it all home to our final destination, Section 4, the passion fruit paradox. Let's find out why flavor matters in the cosmos. Think about this. The summit is real, but the route is not. The configuration of the future is absolutely out there, waiting in the dark. But the specific path we take to get there, that is beautifully unscripted. It's entirely discovered through our own exploration. A mountain exists whether somebody climbs it or not, but the exact footholds you carve into the rock, that belongs entirely to you. Just feel the weight of that for a second. After billions of years of cosmic math, the universe finally organizes itself into galaxies, it wakes up, it becomes self-aware, and its very first desire is to experience flavor, to experience beauty and companionship. You can easily calculate the gravity of a star, but there's literally no physics equation that predicts taste. There's no math that demands we sit around a campfire and share tea. The fact that the universe went through all this trouble just to create an observer who wants to taste a passion fruit, that is the ultimate paradox of our existence. So the goal isn't just to get totally lost in the infinite. Anyone can get lost in infinity, honestly. The universe kind of encourages it. But true wisdom is maintaining relevance across all these scales. It's the ability to spend an hour contemplating galactic collisions and then remembering that you still have to organize logistics for your local community project. You make your 80-year lifespan matter because you understand the billion-year context, not in spite of it. So I'll leave you with this one provocative question. If a billion years of history is really just a single thought, how are you going to maintain relevance across your own scales today? Understanding your tiny place in the massive cosmic weather actually makes the beauty of your everyday choices matter more than ever. You are a 20-watt engine powered by dead stars, fully capable of holding infinity in one hand and a cup of tea in the other. How will you navigate your route today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, keep exploring those spaces between the scales.